Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot. My name is Mel Rose. Friends, I just want to remind you right up front that if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, now is the time to do it. When you subscribe, you help me to reach my own professional goal of retiring from 20 years in massage therapy so that I can spend more time here in connection with you by providing astrology and tarot. So please, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and go ahead and like the video and click the notifications bell. Thank you for that. This is the tarot portion in the second half of my daily astrology vlog, which you can check out on my other channel, Astrology Today with Mel Rose. There you'll find a detailed description of the day's astrology as you see it written out before you. Here I will discuss the tarot card that represents the current sun transit, and we'll play another card that, in the context of today's astrology, may give us something more to think about. So let's get into it. The card that currently represents the sun's transit is the Two of Swords, and it's here because it represents the first 10 days of the sun's transit in the land of Libra. Libra is an air sign, and swords and tarot are also air element symbolism. And quickly, air element symbolism is about our thoughts, our plans, the way we communicate, how we use our words, the thoughts and plans that we make. And so we have the Two of Swords here, which really represents, a point of choice or a matter of perhaps indecision. This person is blindfolded, and they're holding two swords, one over each shoulder, and they're just kind of sitting there listening to the water, their emotions, listening to the moon, what their instincts are telling them, but not really acting to choose one way, right? Not really trying to move one sword first. And you see, when you cross your arms, you have to put one over the other. So one of these swords is obviously going to be the one that you have to choose to move first, right? Often in this position, we have a difficult choice to make, and we really know what the choice is, but we're just having difficulty letting go of the fact that, our other options will not remain available to us when we make this choice. Which is not to say that other great options won't open up, but sometimes we regret not being able to make a certain choice because the other choice is the more practical one, the one more likely to bring us toward the goals that we're trying to reach. So here we are at this point of choice, and the advice, as my wife would say, it is to sort of shit or get off the pot. If you don't know what you need to do, now is the time to flip a coin. And when you flip a coin, you say heads it's chocolate, tails it's vanilla. And I flip that coin and I get tails, it's vanilla, and I say, oh, I really wanted chocolate. So that's how you know what the coin flip is really telling you is what you really want, right? So then you go ahead and choose the chocolate and just let the vanilla go, okay? And then the card that we have played for the context of the day's astrology is the Hermit. And the Hermit represents sort of turning within to learn, okay? It's a little bit of a ignoring the rest of the world so that you can get your education vibe, right? Like when you go off to a college or a university, or you enter like a master's program, you really don't get to spend much time paying attention to the rest of life. You have to spend all of your time really focusing on your studies. And it's not so that you can just leave the world behind. It's not out of an interest to ignore people or to ignore life. It really is just a matter of wanting to learn something of value so that you can then share what you have with everybody else. You can be a light to others for learning what you have learned. And taken in the context here, Hermit is a major arcana card, so it's kind of a bigger message than a numbered card like the Two of Swords. And the major message is like it's time to go ahead and get down to the reading, down to the books, down to the study. Go ahead and put behind the other social activities that we're doing. This is sort of an autumnal vibe to me, I think. Sort of, the summertime is very social time. And then in the autumn, we have work to do to prepare ourselves for the winter and the celebrations that are coming up, and the cold weather that's coming up, and the other things we have to be prepared for in the darkest time of the year. So this is a good time. We have, back in Virgo, we had just begun our studies, and now here we are, in Libra, and we should be sort of in full study mode. We should be, if you're in school, you should be getting to class and doing all of that homework, okay? So in the context of the astrology today, there's this warning here that we may get thrown off of track, but that, that opposition is accompanied by a trine to Mercury and a sextile to Neptune. So even though the moon is in opposition to Uranus, saying something exciting might happen and we might get thrown off track and it may not necessarily be all that pleasant, we have sort of the mental flexibility at this time and the creative flexibility at this time to take on a challenge like that without really, being tossed off of our learning track right now. Likewise, being faced with challenges to security, Uranus and the moon are both square to Saturn, but Mars is trying to Saturn, saying we can go ahead and get our work done. It's no big deal. In fact, this is the perfect time to be focusing in on the work you have to do. So let me see what else I see on the chart here. So, Jupiter is your planet for higher education. The Hermit definitely points to, educating ourselves or sort of leaning into that higher education that we have enrolled for. And Jupiter is over here basically in opposition to the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, our three closest planets, our three most personal planets. These three are never seen traveling very far away from one another, and they're all sitting right across the sky from Jupiter. That star in the middle, that's us. We're the Earth. We're in the middle. You would look to the west and see Jupiter, and you would look to the east and see the Sun, Venus, and Mercury together. So that really shows us that we are in sort of in the cross flow of this conversation, where Jupiter is saying, hey, what do you aspire to? What is the thing that you want to be educated about? What do you really want to know? What experiences do you need to have that will that will expand your idea of what you can be, do, and have? And the Sun, Venus, and Mercury over here in this receptive mode, saying, well, I'd like to have a nice place to live. I'd like to have, good love in my life and good friendship. I'd like to be able to make my plans the way I'd like to, make my plans according to what I want to do, and not, according to what some boss at some job wants me to do, or what, the parents or the family or the children want me to do, right? So, Jupiter is over here extending an invitation, saying, okay, well, let's think about these bigger, better things that we would like to have for ourselves. And really be engaged in the educational portion right now. I really think this is for my people in various kinds of school or educational programs. Even if it is a self-learning educational program, this is really a time for you to focus on that, to give your conscious focus to the thing that you seek to learn, to give your to be receptive to learning it, to sort of loving it for what you are taking in from it, and to be really making your plans around it and sharing about it with people that you can, who will be supportive of your educational endeavor. And taken together with the Two of Swords, if you're at a point of choice and you're not sure what it is that you maybe you have a couple of options for things that will expand your sense of what you can be, do, and have. It expands your experience, right? So that you just you see the world as a bigger place, and you see the world as a place where you can have more experiences than you're already having. Maybe you have a couple of options available to you. Maybe, you're choosing between majors, or, maybe you're, which is choosing between education tracks, or maybe you're choosing between schools. Probably not right now. By now you have chosen your school, okay? But there's another choice here too, which is like, okay, so maybe you get into school You know, and I mean that literally or allegorically. Okay, you get into this schooling mode, this educational mode, and you're getting started out and you're like, oh, this is the easy stuff. This isn't really what I wanted. So maybe the choice, maybe it's hard to make the choice to show up and do the studying right now because you're not learning the really interesting things you thought you were there to learn, right? But listen, you have to go through the sort of intermediate courses before you get to the advanced courses. You have to show that you are there to learn. You have to show yourself. You have to show spirit. You have to show whatever educational institution or educational teacher you have turned to that you are interested enough in the bigger knowledge, in the deeper knowledge, that you're willing to sit through the classes and the books and the education that brings you the standard knowledge, much of which you might already know, especially if it's something that you already have a great deal of interest in. So, choose to stick to the educational program you are on right now. Even if you are struggling to get engaged because you feel like it's boring, or maybe you feel like it's confusing, or you're unsure if you made the right choice going down this particular educational track, now is not the time. And this is another this is another card like yesterday that says now is not the time to try to change tracks. Okay, you've set yourself on this path to get this education. There will be a time when you can shift trajectories, but having just started school like a month ago, probably now is not the time to shift trajectories, and probably now is the time to go ahead and finish up this semester or this year, and then, make the shift or the change, when it is a good time to do so. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about it today, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate your presence here. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today and Tarot.